Hello, good evening and welcome to the Farafina Show. The Hidden Truth is the subject. Tonight in studio, we're going to be talking to Liberia Consulate General, Mr. Jackson George. He's based here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Co-hosting the show with me is Mr. Hakim Kumar. He's also the host of the
Personality of the Week and Farafina Show as well.
Another personality show. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Jackson George.
Thank you.
To kick off the program, I was one of those who also I welcomed the idea of having a consulate general here in the Midwest region. Can you please tell us exactly who is Mr. Jackson George, first of all, to our audience?
Well, thank you again. Jackson George happens to be the Honorary Consul of the Republic of Liberia in Minnesota. Actually, we represent the Midwest. There are another consulate in Atlanta, and then there's one in New York, which is a full consulate, and the embassy. So the foreign mission in the United States comprises of all of those different consulates and embassy.
Oh, great, great. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Can you tell a little bit about your background for the sake of the audience? Just a little bit of your background, that would be good, very great, so the audience can know where you're from. You know.
Well, I was born in Liberia.
Right.
I migrated to the United States in 1995. I've worked in different sectors in the U.S. I resettled. I worked for the Lutheran Social Services in the 90s and resettled thousands and thousands of Liberians, Somalis, people from the Eastern Bloc when the Baltics had their own issues. Then I moved on from that. I also work in the HR department for a couple of years, hire a lot of Liberians and minorities and make sure that they move up the chain. I also work for Minnesota Free Food Bank, and we created a lot of distribution for African immigrants, Asian immigrants, and ensuring food security was something that was of need. Now I own my own business, my own healthcare business. My background is organizational management and leadership from Concordia University.
Thank you so much. That's very impressive. I know you've been around human services for a very long time, and I think that's where your passion lies.
Correct.
And we are so fortunate to have many of you to come and serve our community in Minnesota. I'll turn to my colleagues if you have any question. We can proceed with the show.
Liberians welcome the former establishment of the Consulate General here in Minneapolis since 2017.
Yes, I was commissioned in 2017.
You were commissioned in 2017. So, Mr. George, can you please tell the audience what are some of your responsibility to the Liberian public as a whole in the government?
Well, let me put it this way. Honorary consuls are individuals from, I would say, foreign countries,
right,
that represent the interest of the government and people of that country. Honorary consuls are people of distinct character who are willing to finance some of the expense of government to ensure that these services are done. So in Minnesota, what we do, thank God for the population we have, and the government of Liberia recognize the importance of Minnesota and the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And so the issue of honorary consul or full consul is something that is being discussed, but right now we have a honorary consul, and the goal is to assist Liberians in the Midwest so as to help the embassy expedite some of the cases or activities that the things that Liberians are faced with that cannot fly to DC or cannot contact DC just because of the overload. You'd be surprised there are a lot of Liberian Americans in the United States or Liberians in the United States. And so there are issues. One of the things that we do, we visit the prison compound.
Okay.
I was just there a few days ago to ensure that Liberians in prison are given due process.
Okay.
They are treated with respect. And so those are things that we do outside of the mainstream media and other things. But even in as much as people believe that America has good prison and other things, people are still treated with disrespect or other things. So our goal is to go there, make sure that Liberians in person are treated with respect. They are given due process. They are not, they're not just there time indefinite without any response. If we need to refer them to a lawyer, we do. So those are one of the things that we do. In November, we started processing visas.
Oh, okay.
For travels to Liberia.
Okay.
Our office have been filled with travelers traveling to Liberia. You know, the holiday season, a lot of people were traveling to Liberia. So those are some of the things that we do. There are also a council corp here. We are part of the Minnesota Council Corp, and we have 30 consul generals and honorary consuls in the state. We meet quarterly, and we're part of the, we meet with state government. We have a lot of luncheons where we bring in people from different places to work with us or to speak to us. We also work closely with the Minnesota Department of Trade, and we do a lot of work. We are looking at having an expose of Liberian businesses and Liberian product sometime this year or early next year. So those are some of the things that we do. Our major function is to attract investment into Liberia. And some of these things take a couple of years, depending on the kind of investment you're looking at.
Right.
But we want to be able to attract investment that will have immediate impact on the economy, not long-term concessional agreements that take 5-6 years to materialize. You know, we want to be able to attract investment in terms of, can we build a factory in Liberia that can put people to work? Right. You know, can we do manufacturing? And I understand those are some of the things we're working with, and within time, as the electricity, the power grid begin to move in, some of these things will take fruition.
You're watching the Farafina show. This is The Hidden Truth, and our guest today is Mr. Jackson, the Honorable Jackson George. I'm here with my co-host, Akim Kamara. Akim, do you have any question for Mr. George?
Well, there are a lot of questions we have, but you know, for for time, we got to trim some of these questions down. But I mean, for now, he speaks well. He speaks to the issues, and these are things that people, the Liberian community really want. You know, back in the days when I first moved to Minnesota, 1996 or 97, right between there, Liberians were faced with so many difficulties. You know, we underwent a lot of things, a lot of difficulties. You know, sometimes, you know, we'll be discriminated, you know, at our job site because we didn't have that representation. But seeing the Consul General here, the Consulate here is like a ease of mind for the Liberian population. At least there's somebody there that we can run to and complain and tell the person, say, hey, we're facing this kind of issues, and you can go and talk on our behalf. Besides some of the things you just mentioned, can you go a little bit in depth about some of the services that some of the PR services that you render to the Liberian community?
Well, again, the consulate is a diplomatic function, right? And so most of our activities are done behind the scenes. Liberians have been picked up, I would say, in the state. Now, let's take, for instance, Brooklyn Park is one of the areas where you consider the police department does not work with ICE in any way or arrest someone for ICE. Right. But once you put into the system, ICE has access to that. Once you're booked and put into the system, ICE could wait for you right outside the courthouse. Right. And so Liberians are picked up, not only Liberians, but immigrants, but I will just concentrate on Liberians. Yep. Liberians are picked up and taken to prison, and we get the call when family members will call and say, well, my brother or my sister was picked up and taken. So we've built a relationship with ICE to be able to access the prison compound, to have notification that this person was arrested, let us know why, and so we can give them the kind of a representation that they need. Also, there are Liberians who came here a long time ago as refugees, came on an I-94 program. They don't have access to passport. And so how do we facilitate processes of that nature if a Liberian wants to go back home? Not only that, but Liberians who, some people are filing for their permanent residency. They need valid passports. So all of these things are issues that we deal with on a daily basis, work with the embassy and the consulate in New York to ensure that people are getting some of these things done and getting some redress as they relate to these activities. So there are Liberians who were born in Ghana to two Liberian parents. Ghana doesn't accept them as Ghanaian because they were born to two Liberian parents. Now they on the green card has Ghanaian, but they are Liberians. You know, now Ghana cannot issue them passport to travel. How do we navigate all of these things? So people have real problems and that they are dealing with on a daily basis, and I think the consulate here has been able to ease some of those concerns that they have, and I think it helps the government of Liberia.
Talking about easing concerns, Honorable George, is there any thing in the works where at some point in time Liberians will be able to use the current consulate here to be able to obtain Liberian passport? I'm talking about those who I know currently Liberia is actually working towards dual citizenship, something that is in the works, which I'm not going to speak to right now, but I believe, is there any point in time that you guys are looking at something down the road?
Well, like I said in the beginning, the government of Liberia really do take Minnesota or the Midwest seriously just because of our population. They do. We did meet with the director of passport. He came to Minnesota.
Oh,
we
okay.
met with him. We had a discussion concerning that. He was here for a week doing his own assessment. I think his assessment, he found out that there's a need, but it's not an easy thing to do. I would say Minnesota, out of 30 consulate, Minnesota Liberian consulate is the only consulate issuing visa. So it's not a function. It's you know, it's not easy. It's cost effective. It's not cost effective to bring in the kind of a staff and to do that. But I think the government is looking into that, and as soon as the right time comes, I think that would be something. But right now we are facilitating that through Washington and New York. So we are helping to facilitate the process, and Liberians are being taken care of. So, but hopefully bringing it here will be something that will be easier for especially people who are old and can't fly to New York to do fingerprint, or Washington to do fingerprint and other stuff. But we still got to outweigh the costs. You know, it's something that we got to look at and see how does it benefit government and how does it help our community.
Honorable Jackson George is our guest here on the Farafina Show. Farafina Show is actually watched before a live studio audience. The broadcast from the CCX studios here in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Honorable George, you talked about trade, attracting people to go back to Liberia. How are you also working with Liberians who want to be able to go back home to invest into the country?
Well, I am the president of the Liberian Business Association in the diaspora. We created ourselves for the first thing. We needed to identify all of the resources in our community, especially Liberian-owned businesses. Okay. And that's something we've been doing since 2016. You would be surprised that we have doctors with their own practices, dentists. We got distributors, something we never had before. We do have all kinds of businesses. I mean, from IT. Everywhere now, the big issue is how do we come together as a business community to help invest in our own country. Right. And so many of the times we always want foreigner to come in and invest in Liberia. Right. What about us investing in our own country? So we started an investment club. The investment club, we said, is $100 per share. It's open. It's not only for the business association. It's open to everyone. We're going to invest our money for 1 year. And let's take, for instance, if we wanted to build a packaging plant in Liberia. Right. We do an assessment, it's $300,000. We have our own money, we go and do that in 6 months, we have it functioning. You know, we also have, like I said, distributor. Right. Why is it that a distributor in the United States would buy gari from Guinea and Sierra Leone and oil from Ghana? What about Liberia? We need to put people to work. Yeah. And so our goal is to create a diaspora plan for Liberia. And to make it work, we are working on that. But again, some of the things, they take time. We are strategically doing these things so that when we roll over in Liberia, we can be successful. We do partner with Liba Liberia. Okay. We signed a memorandum with them. One of the things that we found out that we've been doing wrongly, the fact that we would just fill a container and take it to Liberia and expect that people will buy them. We need data. We need information. What about if the people in Pinsville don't like red? And we fill our t-shirt, our container of red t-shirts and took it. People are not going to buy them. So we are working with Liba to build that capacity in terms of collecting the kind of data we need. How many Liberians live in Pinsville who are between the ages of this and that? How many are female? That's important information for people who want to do business in Liberia. So we are looking at all of those things. We were at the Energy Africa conference a few months ago, and we're looking at energy and looking at the attracting investment into Liberia to help with the energy. Solar is a big thing with the heat, with the sun we have in Liberia.
Right.
Solar can be of a great importance to the growth and development of our homeland. So we are looking at all of those things, and hopefully we are thinking that if we can attract the kind of investment that we need, smart, effective and efficient investment, Liberia will grow fast. I think that the most important thing, we have a young population and we need to put them to work, and that is the goal from the business association component.
Right.
So if you look at the consulate, which one of the function is to attract investment, and you look at the business association using Liberian owned businesses to carry an investment into Liberia, I think it makes sense, you know. And so we're working with that. I like to talk a little and do more.
Right.
And so people will see the outcome soon once the wheels start to turn.
Great. Oh, wow, that's such a great opportunity for Liberians, putting Liberian at work in Liberia.
Right.
Many times, growing up in Liberia, we saw other nationalities controlling our business sector in Liberia. People coming from Ghana, Guinea, Nigeria, and the typical Liberian man is left with nothing. I think that would be a great opportunity to put our Liberian to work. But anyway, I know the Consulate, you are the eyes of the President, the government of the Republic of Liberia in Minnesota or in the Midwest. I mean, a few months ago, we heard that the President was visiting Minnesota, and there was a huge preparation here and there, and then come to find out that the visit got cut off. Will you mind telling the audience why did the visit get cut off? Is there any other plan of visiting in the future?
Well, again, there's some things I'm not going to comment on. I represent the government interest. I don't represent. I don't defend and talk about policies and other things. So, but I think there are works for the President to visit Minnesota. The Consulate is working on that. We are hoping that that will happen. But again, that will be the President's decision once the invitation gets there, and based on his schedule. To see if that will work. But we are working to ensure that the President comes to Minnesota. Minnesota has a lot to offer. We are more or less the breadbasket of the world. We are also the health center of the world. We got the Mayo Clinic. We got a lot of healthcare businesses, and we are looking at how we are working with the trade office, the Minnesota Trade Office, to ensure that once the President gets here, we have this kind of a high-level meetings with the kind of a partners that we need to carry some of the healthcare. You know, Liberians are heavily involved in the healthcare, and it's no secret that Minnesota knows that. And so, whatever we can do to help facilitate that. But the President visit, I think you will have to refer to the foreign ministry.
You are watching the Farafina Show, and our guest today is Honorable Jackson George, Consul, who is the consulate here in the Midwest. We will take a pause for a minute and have a question from our audience here who's in studio to be able to ask Mr. George.
All right, thank you, Akim, thank you, Trokon, and thank you, Counselor. My name is Mohamed Danzo, and I'm one of the hosts of Farafina Show. I know some of these guys have questions, but I want to start with myself. Your connection with the Liberian people in Minnesota here, how connected are you to those people?
Can you rephrase the question?
Yeah. So, Liberians residing in Minnesota, what is your relationship with them, your connection with them? Are you guys well connected? Do most of them know about you?
And I would say consider me like a government official. Are you saying that all government officials will be connected to the whole country? Well, I live here for 25 years. Yeah. I've served the Organization of Liberians in Minnesota as vice president and on the board. I have created a lot of, like I say, I work for the food bank, and I did a lot for the community. I run the Liberian Business Association in the diaspora, and we have the headquarters in Minnesota. Just on Friday, we had our annual program. So it depends on what you mean. Behind the scene, I help a lot of Liberians. So my connection with the community, depending on who you talk to.
All
It all
right,
depends
that's
on
great.
who you talk to. But I think I have
That's
a
great.
really good, solid network with the community. I started the county organization having to come together. I brought the county organization together because most of them, their goal is to help the homeland. And so my goal was to bring them together, give me a project, because I meet a lot of people on a daily basis who want to help. It's been tough. There were some politics brought inside, and we stopped that. But you know, my job is to continue to work to ensure that Liberia benefit. Now, if we all believe that Liberia is a common denominator, then our differences should be less. You know, we are petite. You know, we're too petite. If it is not you, then it can be done. Right. Those are things that we need to grow over. We've lived here too long to see we can disagree. I mean, we should disagree.
Yep.
But our disagreement should not be personal. But we do that, and that affects the bottom line of our country. And so I think Liberians in the diaspora, we haven't done enough to help our homeland. And like Ethiopia or Rwanda or Ghana or Kenya, look at what people in the diaspora are doing. But it's because we're too petite. You know, I tell people, when Ellen became president of Liberia, some people totally said, I'm not going to do nothing. I would just wait. 12 years have gone. Add 12 years to your age. Now we got 6 years, a president coming in at 6 years. You sit down and add another 6 years, and if he won the next term, that's 12 years. What will you be able to do to help your homeland? Now, my question here is that the government of Liberia has not stopped any one individual from building a clinic in the village that they came from or putting a well in the village. Why can't we do that? Why does it have to be that the president or the government? Sometimes we need to forget about government a little and do the things that we need to do to help our people. Government can't do all. And if government did everything, then we have a socialist state.
Right.
And pretty soon we'll be arguing, no, now we got a socialist state. Well, government built a hospital, the roads, they provide everything. What do you want government to do? You know, and so some of these things, I think that when I say we are petite, it's because we sit in America, we drive these big cars, we stay in our air conditions, we do all of this, and we are okay. But what about the people who don't have opportunities back home, in the villages that we left? How many of us got homes in the villages that we came from? Oh, go back to Ghana, go to Kenya, see they go back to their villages. We think if we went back home, they would kill us. You know, and so it's a mindset thing. It's a mindset, and if we can change our mindset, the development of Liberia will be easier because we have to hold ourselves accountable too. Government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Right? And so we are government. We must hold ourselves accountable before we can hold government accountable. We are corrupt in ourselves, and we are accusing other people of being corrupt. Just go to Liberia on the street. We as a people, are we honest to each other? Even in business, are we honest to each other? Can we look into each other's eye and do business? You don't have 5 Liberians having a major business corporation in Liberia or outside of Liberia. Every single Liberian want to have his own business. It's about trust. We have to start learning to trust each other. We have to start learning to do the things that other countries can do. You want to tell me Nigerians can come together and open a corporation and Liberians can? We should be able to do that, but it's because we are petite. There's small, little jealousy. All of these things, we got to put them behind us and grow all of these things, and so Liberia can benefit at the end of the day.
Well, thank you, thank you, Councilor George. Well, you're watching the
Farafina show.
You're watching the Farafina show, and we're winding down here in studio. Our guest here today, it's Consulate Jackson George, who's very passionate about serving the Liberian here in the Midwest, and he is the eyes and ears of the Liberian government here, and have been serving for over 25 years in a capacity in different humanitarian aspects. It's been a pleasure having you, Mr. George. It's been a pleasure having you, co-host Hakeem. Is there any word you'd like to leave with the listening, viewing audience here today?
Well, what I want to say is that we do have the consulate here. Our address is 6248 Lakeland Avenue. It's in Brooklyn Park. We have a website, LiberianConsulateMN.com. If you're looking for information in terms of visa processing and other things, we serve the Midwest. You have information there. But I think the message that I want to send to the community and maybe to Liberians in the diaspora is that we need to start thinking more about how we can help our homeland as compared to what the homeland can do for us. Most of the time we want to go home and serve government, we want to work for government, we want to do that. But I think we need to start looking at the private sector and how we can go home and contribute and create jobs. That's something we need to do. And if we can change our mindset, if we can change the way we do business, if we can start learning how to work together, if we can crack that code, I think Liberia will be the best country on earth. But we have not learned how to work together. We don't trust each other. And the pettiness that we have in us, the crab mentality have hurt us more than it has helped us. And if we live in the world's greatest country, we must adapt some of the good things that come with this. And that is, we have to build trust and we have to build collaboration, and we need to learn how to work together. So thank you for inviting me. I'm always open to coming to these forums to inform Liberians of some of the things that we do. And whenever you call on me, I'll be back to let Liberians know where we are when it comes to representing the interest of the Liberian government and people here.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Nice to meet you.